Cypher. Cypher.
Welcome to Cypher's Specialty Coffee TV. We're doing something really cool this time. We have a special episode that we're filming out of Bolivia. And we're going to be visiting various farms with the Los Rodriguez families in Bolivia, our partners. It's going to be really cool. You're going to enjoy this episode because the scenery is just magnificent. And it's packed with information that is that we think you guys are going to really enjoy watching. And within this episode, we're going to be talking about the Bolivian specialty coffee and the dynamics of this specific market. Furthermore, we're going to be discussing the special programs that our partners in Bolivia have been applying in order to improve the sustainability of coffee farming in Bolivia. Stay tuned, watch, enjoy, because this is really, really cool. Good luck.
Cypher.
So the altitude we're at right now is 1,600.
Yes.
I remember yesterday you mentioning something about the latitude versus the altitude.
Yes.
How important it is.
Yeah, I think something that is the unique case of Bolivia is that Bolivia is extreme south to produce coffee. Caranavi
Extreme
is
south
of the equator.
of the equator. Yes. Yes.
So, and it's not only important to mention the altitude, but the latitude. Because as southeast you are from the equator, more extreme and more higher you are to produce coffee. So, for example, now Caranavi is a latitude of 15 and Colombia latitude 0, right? So you can compare a farm of 160,000 meters from Bolivia with one the same in Colombia. So every meter down, you have to add 50 meters more. So comparing a farm with Colombia and Bolivia, you have to add 350 meters more
Because of the relationship between altitude and latitude.
because of the latitude.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. So, for example, a farm of 1,500 meters in Bolivia will be comparing with a farm of 1,850 meters in Colombia.
So that's a very important point to note, because a lot of people in the industry focus a lot on the altitude, but they forget to mention the latitude.
And that also the latitude makes the terroir different. The weather, the landscape,
The soil.
the soil different. Because if you compare all the origins with the same altitude, it's not the same. They have different terroir, weather, and that is because of the latitude. So that's Caranavi is latitude 50, and Samaipata, the other farms that we have are latitude 80. So that is 450 meters more compared to farms in Colombia. So it's even in southeast, and it's even harder and more extreme. So the conditions are more extreme. For example, in Samaipata, the weather is very extreme. So during the day, you can have a temperature of 25, 30, but during the night, drops to 8 degrees. So that makes that the maturity of the cherry is slow and slow. So the harvest in Samaipata can be 6-7 months. Here, because it's more humid and the temperature are not too extreme, the harvest is shorter, maybe 5 months.
But the longer harvest might be good for processing.
For processing
Yeah.
and also for the sweetness.
Yes.
So if you take a cherry in Samaipata, it's full of sugar, full of sweetness. The cascara is thicker because it has to protect the beans. The coffee trees are shorter and smaller because they have less hours of day and because they have to protect of the cold weather. Here is the opposite. The coffee trees are very big, strong, even though we have the same varieties. The cascara here is thinner. The beans here are less dense compared to the ones in Samaipata. So it's also important as another thing about latitude. So as south as you go, you have less hours of daytime, like of sun. So that's why if you go to Patagonia or the south of Argentina, they have shorter day. And that also affects the ripeness of the cherries and the flavors, of course, on the terroir.
Positively or negatively?
Positive.
Positive.
So when we are trying to dry the cherries in Samaipata, making naturals, and we measure the bricks in Samaipata is 30, so it's top, and here is 22. And when we dry, it's very difficult to dry in naturals in Samaipata because the sugars, they try to dry, but because they have too much, during the day they dry, but during the night that is more humid, they get wet again.
So what do? You don't do natural, right? Or you try to do less natural?
We try to do less naturals in Samaipata.
Except if you start doing the manual drying. Sorry, the automatic do you have the drying machines as well there?
Yeah. We use more. For example, here in Caranavi, we have a lot of rain during the harvest time. In Samaipata, we have less rain, so we can have more raised beds. In Caranavi, no, it's too complicated.
But it didn't rain while we're here. Now it's harvest time, no?
It's harvest time, but the weather has changed. It's changing. So every year is different. We cannot plan. We cannot plan when it's going to start the harvest.
And this is a very important point I wanted to raise, which is how is climate change affecting you now? How is the change of temperatures affecting you? And have you been noticing different things happening than the usual?
Yes.
Can you give us some examples?
For example, we used to start the harvest time, like talking about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. We have the date of starting and finishing, and it was almost the same. And we knew like when we had rain, the quantity of rain. But in the last years, the weather has been very unpredictable.
Okay.
So for us, it's difficult to plan and to know how well it's gonna be the harvest, because what has happened is that the harvest we were expecting a very nice harvest. Everything was okay, but then in the middle of the harvest, no rain or too much rain, and that is.
And it wasn't like that.
And
before.
it was not. No.
It was not like that.
No, it was not like that. So in the middle of the harvest, we have something, and the problem is that it not only affects the harvest of that year, so it affects the next year's harvest. So,
have you seen any effects of climate change causing damage to the soil? In relation to the soil, have you noticed any changes in the soil in relation to the climate, changes of temperatures and climate change?
Yeah, because of the rain. So it's very important, the rain. And for example, last year we had some producer from Sol de la Mañana that his farm is at 1,400 meters. But in that part, there he was affected by hail, like snow. Hail.
Yes.
And it hasn't. Imagine we're in the forest.
Wow, that's the first time I hear.
The first time that has happened, and he told me like I was born in Caranavi, and it's the first time that I've seen hail in here. So the hail has affected his coffee plantation, and he lost that crop.
Oh, sad to hear.
Then in Samaipata, last year, we had drought. So it has, and last year we were expecting to be our biggest crop of the entire life.
In Samaipata.
But in the middle of the harvest, the drought has affected. So we didn't get the rain during flowering. So flowering was affected. So it's affecting this crop. So the production this year has dropped 40. We are not sure, but we are forecasting 40 to 50% less production. And in Caranavi, for example, last year, and it's the first time in the last 10 years that we've been having this, that the flowering was not very
consistent.
So it is affecting the production of this year with less production. Because
due to inconsistency in flowering last year, it affects this year's
harvest because of the rain. And the problem is that you don't know until something happens.
I think, are there any necessary steps that should be taken by coffee producers to reduce the effect of these weather changes? Anything can be done by the coffee producers themselves, the practices of coffee producers, or the problem is much bigger than that?
I think both. I think it's something that has to be with all.
Yeah.
That we have to take care more about and be more conscious about that we only have one planet, of what we are consuming,
How we consume it.
Be more conscious, I think, understand the consequences, and think also about not be so selfish. Think about the next generations.
Yeah.
But also the young people need to understand, because also it's their responsibility.
100%.
But for example, we being coffee producers is also hard, because it depends on weather, and that's something that
Not within your
we
control.
can't control
Yes,
at all,
Not within your control.
and that is basic for producing coffee. Another thing are pickers, a part of weather, that less people want to work on the field. They prefer to be sitting in the cities, being taxi drivers or whatever. And we need pickers to pick the cherries.
Yes.
And that is also basic for a coffee plantation.
It seems that's a common problem I've been noticing with a lot of coffee producers. The lack
Around
of,
the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Around the world.
Yeah.
And in Central America, it's related a lot to migration to the USA. A lot of the pickers, apparently pickers have been trying to migrate to the US
To look
get
for better
opportunities. Yeah.
And that's something that we are also working in our farms. For us, it's a big issue, because at the same time as we have our farms, we also have the producers, Sol de la Mañana, and they also need pickers.
Yeah.
And they are growing. And if we want to grow more, it's a big fight for just a few group of pickers that live here. So now in our farms, we have to bring pickers from other regions. So we are going to see the new camp that we built for the pickers, and also to give them good conditions while they are living here, because at the end they are working here for 5 months, and most of these pickers lives in a very bad conditions with their families, because they are with their families with kids. So our idea is that during they are with us, and they are part of the chain, very important part of the chain, that they also can have good facilities, a nice place where they can eat, good conditions with TV. So for us, that is also part of the sustainability that we are looking for. That is not just thinking this year. So what are we gonna do the next following years that less pickers want to come here? Then also part of the is paying good to them. They at least have to get a basically salary, but in Bolivia it is. And a part of the sustainability program that we have, that we're worried about pickers, we make the joke that maybe in the future, if you want coffee, you will come here to pick your coffee yourself. And another thing is, a part of the weather that we were talking about is we are experimenting with grafted.
Yes.
So we planted Robusta, and we are using that for the roots, but mix with a variety like Caturra, Geisha, Java. Because the main problem here, I think, is gonna be lack of rain, water, and those varieties are more resistant to drought.
Okay.
So, but for us, as we talk, always sustainability is important, and part of the sustainability is also quality.
Right.
And so that's why we're using the roots of the Robusta, but keeping the quality, the flavors that Arabica has. So after this, we're gonna go to a plantation that we have over there, so you can taste our first cherries.
Nice. Coming out of this crafted.
Of this grafted, you're gonna see the trees. They look healthy. They look nice. We hope that the production is higher or good at least, but at the same time the quality keeps as an Arabic. So we are working on that, because we know that in the future we are and coffee is a lot of patient. Like, you plant and you have to wait for 4 years for your first crop.
Yeah.
So we have to think that maybe in 8 years, 10 years, but we will be prepared at least.
And change is happening fast.
And we have to move with that and do something, not to wait that the change arrive and let's start working with something. So Pedro Pablo, because now I think that everybody talks more about process, and they believe that that's the big change. But what about where the coffee trees grow? That is the important part.
Because
And
that's the essence of it. No, that's the start. If you don't have that right, you'll have nothing to process.
That's the important part. Like, and not many people are thinking or talking or doing about the coffee plantations. And I think that is a main common that all the origins are suffering. For a coffee producer, every year is hard to produce because of the conditions and also labor and hands. So that those two are the main.
Every step of it is so important.
So when we talk about quality, because many people ask like, what is quality for us? For us is first the good genetics, Arabicas, then the soil, the terroir, then having a healthy, good coffee plantation that you start that from the nursery. So we are very careful in the nursery. Then the picking just the ripe cherries with controlled sorting, then controlled fermentation, controlled drying, control and good storage. So are like at least 7 steps that you have to follow and control to have quality at the end.
Effective shipping.
Effective shipping. And then the rest is
Then the
It's
responsibility
your-
is shifted
uh-huh.
to us. Then.
uh-huh.
The last thing is the consumer.
That they have to understand what is behind a specialty coffee that is not easy.
How they consume.
How they consume.
And how they consume, because at the end of the day, it makes a difference, you know.
So these 40 families, are from the north of La Paz, of Bolivia, from a region called Beni. So they are seasonal.
Pickers.
So during harvest, they are here. After the when harvest finished, they move to somewhere else to pick fruit, grains, whatever they found. And they are moving with the family together.
The family.
With the family.
Would you say this is also part of the Sol de Mañana?
No, this is part of Rodriguez Sustainability Program.
Okay, this is part of Rodriguez Sustainability Program.
And our model, like.
And eventually you were going to have a kindergarten as well, you told me.
Yeah, because this is new.
Okay.
First, last year, we built the first part.
Huh?
For this harvest, the second one. And the idea is to make it here the kindergarten for kids.
That's very nice.
So the parents can be working in the farm and the kids can be here learning, doing something.
Bettering their lives.
Yeah. So the idea is that they can have a good life.
Yeah, dignity.
Dignity.
Yes, yes, live with dignity. And so it fits around 40 families, you said, or 40 people?
40 families.
40 families. Okay.
So over there is a kitchen. So there are 2 cookers that cook for the entire camp. Then, do you want to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
They have bathrooms. And part of this is also to teach them how to live in good conditions.
Yeah,
All these people, they have never been living in good conditions.
yeah.
So they don't know how to live. Can
Holas. That's cool. TV, there's where they can wash.
clean.
Clean, yeah, it's
So
super
that's
nice.
important thing. And the like they have like
Beds and rooms, yeah. Super nice.